talking to somebody's part 2 inner child series, right? We already talked about in part 1, and if you haven't seen part 1, go see part 1, but we already talked about acknowledging, going back and pinpointing the issue down to who said it, how it made you feel, just really, really evaluating that issue is step 1, because without that information, you cannot totally heal. You can heal an aspect of what you think it is, but until you actually pinpoint and look at the whole situation, look at that person, look at that place, that thing, look at you, how you felt, what you did about it, until you can look at that and address it and be honest about the whole situation, you can't heal it. It'll keep coming back and manifesting as something else because you haven't got to the root of the matter. Okay? So you have to go back and get to look and pinpoint the issue down to the root. Okay? Now, number 2, let's give an example. Let's go back. Okay, first of all, number 2 is healing the issue, taking the steps to heal that issue. Now we can go to the example. The example is, let's just say your inner child is, what do my notes say? Your inner child goes back to a household that was very tense. A lot of hollering, a lot of screaming, and closing doors, and a lot of angry energy, a lot of anger in the household. So much so that you as a child walked on eggshells. You didn't know what bag that parent or that person was going to come out of that day. You constantly was in fear. You constantly was in fear because you didn't know. It was a lot of unknown. One minute everything was peaceful, the next moment everything was chaotic and confusing because you are a child. You don't your mind is not equipped to figure things out at that point in time. So your household was chaotic, confused, it was tense, it was emotional. So much so that you as a child, you never got to play. You never really got to really have a childhood that was full of laughter and full of childlike innocence and full of child experiences, because oftentimes you were in fear. You were fearful of doing childish things. You were in fear all the time to be a child. So in some type of way, your childlike innocence was stolen because the household, and I'm going to say household because it could be anybody in your household. They don't have to just be a parent. But if it's not a parent, the parent allowed it. So anyway, so basically your childhood was riddled with a lot of fear. So now that you are an adult, I'm going to speak about fear. Now that you are adult, you don't have any faith. You can't really when people say, oh, just have faith. Oh, you really don't. You have surface faith. But when things really get tough and you be in behind closed doors and you by yourself, you in fear. It all stems back to your childhood. It takes you back. Then the point is, you were so fearful that you couldn't be a child. You didn't have a childhood because your childhood was riddled with fear. You could not be a child and be innocent and be free. You were riddled with fear. You were riddled with confusion. You were riddled with conflict. You didn't know what to do at any given moment. That right there, this is an example. But that right there, because it was not healed, now that you're a full-grown, fledged adult, every time something happened, instead of you having faith and seeing things through, you riddled with fear and paralyzed it with fear that things are not going to work out, things are not going to happen, things are not going to, things is just, you have no fun. You don't know how to have fun. Everything in your life is tense. Everything is serious. Because you can't take the chance to have fun and be lighthearted and be free because you never was allowed to. In your childhood, you were never allowed to have fun and to be free. So you don't know how to do it now that you are adult. And it goes deeper than that. This is just an example. You have children. You can't really connect with your children in a childlike way. Everything is serious. Everything is tense. You allow them to have a childhood because you knew you didn't have a childhood. But because you did not have that opportunity, it's something that you cannot connect with your children with. Because you didn't experience it. So, just got a little moment to help you with this. As it stands and you are an adult right now, you could take any moment to heal this. How you do it is if you were always afraid, you always fearful in situations, what you do is you change that fear into faith. You say, I don't know how. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. When you are in fear, you can turn fear into faith in prayer. Prayer is the starting point to faith. It's the first start. It's the first part of faith. So whenever you're in fear, you pray. You ask God to help you. And you stand on that prayer. And you have faith that God will see you through. And that is how you heal fear. Because faith cancel out fear. Whatever it is that you feel like you didn't get, or whatever it is, you can change that by doing it as an adult. If you didn't play now. If you didn't laugh now. Whatever you didn't get, or whatever you think you were cheated, give it to yourself as an adult, and you will heal. Bam! And there it is, part 3.